evening and welcome to what episode are we on now, guys? Nine. Is it 9 or 10 of the Pack Homer podcast? Anyway,
We're on 10. 10,
we're
right?
on episode 10. We made it the 10th episode of the Pack Homer podcast. That's pretty impressive. Brought to you by Waters and Mathis CPAs. If you want to run rule the IRS, visit WMCPAs.com. So, rough week. Rough weekend, rough week for the Pack. Congratulations again to our basketball team on a heck of a postseason run. Congratulations to Gary Hahn getting an opportunity to go and call a Final Four game in his on his farewell tour. Brought a lot of excitement to Wolfpack Nation and heck of an effort the other night. I thought we played really hard, didn't make enough shots, but that's how it goes sometimes. But anyway, really proud of our basketball team and thankful for the excitement that they brought to us here in March. So now on to baseball. Last week we're now riding a 4-game losing streak after getting let's just call it what it is. We got thumped by ECU last Tuesday night at the Doak, and then we rolled into Louisville. Looking for our first ACC road win. Showed up there 8-4 in conference and left 8-7 after getting swept. Sam Highfield and Logan Whitaker, I don't know, I'm assuming sick has kind of been the word on the street. I'm not sure if they had an illness or injury or what, but anyway, we went shorthanded without probably our two best starters, and now we're 8-7 going into Clemson series this week against a team who's 28-3, number one in the nation. Well, number one in the nation RPI. Are they number one in the poll too? I think they're number 2 in the poll.
They're number 2. Arkansas is number 1.
Number 2 in this week's D1 baseball poll. So we got an uphill climb, boys. Anybody? I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all speak a little bit before we dig into it. We're not going to go too deep into the actual games tonight. We lost 11-1, 7-6, 7-6 at Louisville. We lost 12-4 at the Doak against ECU. Let's we're going to talk about some other things, but of what you watched this week, Wesley, you go first, and we'll kick it to Adam.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little tough to keep up. At least for me, I didn't have Wi-Fi on the plane on the way to Arizona, so I pretty much missed the Saturday and Sunday games live. I did get to watch Friday, and probably much like everybody else, when we didn't see Highfield out there, you're like, what in the world is going on? And then I think I had some service, a little bit of service, and then on Saturday when it wasn't Highfield again, and Whitaker was sick, you're like, how in the world 2 got sick, I do believe the curse is broken, thanks to Coach Keats and the ACC championship, but 2 starters sick or hurt or whatever's going on in the same weekend is kind of unheard of. And if you think about with Willitson out for the season, we really had 3 starters out for the series. So that's kind of hard to comprehend, how one team can be 3 starters down is it the 4th ACC series we're in now?
That was the 5th.
5th ACC series. So we're 3 starters down in the 5th ACC series. So like you said, maybe we won't waste too much time on the I mean, hell, I hate to say display, but you had some really young guys starting pitching at Louisville, and here we are 0-6 on the road in conference play. And I think much like, I mean, and maybe it's different. Maybe you can't compare this to the Georgia Tech series after we were blown out by UNCG, that we didn't respond after the ECU thumping, as Cal said, because it was just kind of disarray with our normal starters not there. So I'm really not sure, how we talk about that.
Adam?
The only thing I have to add is I looked up the stats, and of the 44 million posted podcast, less than 700,000 make it 10 episodes or more. So we are officially part of the 2%. So that's really the only positive thing I can think of to add. Um, I like Wes. I didn't get to watch much. I did follow along and watch some on Sunday. I was pretty groggy after taking the red eye back from Phoenix Saturday night, but I did
Adam, what was
follow a
your
little bit.
what was your time door to door from your driveway back?
I was actually in Phoenix for like 9.5 hours. So, and got to see 2 basketball games during that time. So
I
I
think
Ubered directly to I Ubered directly to the stadium, and the guy's like, "You here for the Final Four?" He saw my Wolfpack gear, and I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Where's your bags?" I said, "I don't have any bags. It's just me." So
I think
so,
I
so
think
that was fun.
I was 35 hours from door to door, so I think you got me beat by a long ways.
Yeah, I tell you one cool thing. Um, well, I say cool thing, but Bruce Pearl, coach of Auburn, was on my flight on the way back, my red eye, and he was sitting like 2 seats over from me in the exit row on the red eye back to Atlanta, and I got to chat with him a little bit, and I was telling him about a couple years ago, Cal, when we went to the Wolfpack game at Auburn, and how much fun that was. And he said, "Yeah, that was a great game." And he's talking about it and talking about one of the guys for them that shot the ball well that night, and could tell he really had a good remembrance of that particular game going back several years ago. I guess almost 5 years ago now. But he talked about State's run and how special that was for the fan base. And he says, "But there's one thing for sure." He said the 2 best teams in America are playing Monday night for the championship. So that was a pretty good sentiment, I thought he said.
That is.
But as far as baseball, man, it was just really disappointing. I felt like all in all, especially Saturday and Sunday's game, especially being without Witt and Highfield, like we really honestly put together a decent effort pitching. Um, we had some untimely errors. I can't remember how many of was it how many was it on Saturday? How many? How many?
Saturday we
Oh,
made three errors on Saturday.
was
No, we
that
made
it?
3 errors
Okay.
yesterday. I'm sorry.
So okay, no, so it wasn't Saturday. So it was
Friday.
yeah. So it was Marone. It was Marone on Sunday. He gave up 5 runs, only 2 earned, and so we had 3 unearned runs and lost by 1. Obviously, I thought we battled back in that game. We were down 7-0 and came back and just really just left a lot of guys stranded late, a lot of opportunities. Had some dumb base running mistakes that were a bit unfortunate too, and um, had a guy, or I think it was a Serrano actually got caught in a pickle between second and third in the top of the 7th, I think it was, and then had a guy get picked off on first immediately following that. So just unfortunate, trying to make the comeback. It really felt like the momentum had swung our way. We had some good. I mean, obviously some young guys pitching, but Louisville had a stud in there too. They had a lefty that was from Louisville, and he really, I thought, came in. He was a true freshman. He really came in and looked good in that game yesterday. So I don't know, just frustrating. I won't even speak to the ECU game. That was an absolute bloodbath. But
Yeah, and I watched at least parts of all 3 games. Uh, where do I start? One of the things I'll say is that and I don't know if this is a book on how you go and beat us, but I thought that ECU and Louisville both played us really aggressively. They both ran the bases. Uh, I if you watched the ECU game the other night, they were hitting and running. They hit and run in a 10-2 ball game and took off the steal up 12-2. And they played smart. They bunted the ball. Both those teams bunted the ball. Both those teams put pressure on us. And, quite honestly, we didn't respond to it very well. We looked like we were on the defensive in both those ball games from pretty much the jump. And, it wasn't pretty baseball this week for us. Adam alluded to the errors that we've made. We got to get better, and we got to get better in a hurry. I think we had, I don't know what episode it was. Is it Time to Panic? Panic is not what you want to permeate your locker room, but we better find a sense of urgency, or the postseason we'll be just watching. We're 8-7 in the ACC right now, and we're going to stare a 28-3 Clemson team in the face this weekend. And who knows? We certainly don't know whether or not we're going to have Logan Whitaker and Sam Highfield available this weekend. So we're it's kind of now or never for us. I shouldn't say now or never, but we better find it in the next couple of series and figure out a way to. We need to. Let's see, we're 15 games through, and 2 more series will be 21 games through. We got to get one this weekend. I mean, you hope you win the series, but you can't. If we get swept again on the road, and you go to 0-9 on the road in the ACC, it doesn't matter who you're going to line up and playing against every week. In my opinion, if you keep losing series and keep getting swept every time you go on the road, I think at the end of the year, it's going to be real hard to beg for an at-large bid if we can't find a way to tighten the ship a little bit. So anyway, I wanted to get into a little, I don't know, it's baseball, but I was going to call it armchair quarterbacking. But anyway, I just wanted to throw out some questions and share our thoughts on what we got to do to get better and to get where we want to get. Because I think we still all feel that we have talent on our roster, but you got to still go out and win the game. You got to play the games and win the games. Having a roster that you feel like is pretty talented doesn't do a whole heck of a lot. I think a lot of folks remember the year after the College World Series run with Trey Turner and Carlos Rodon. Both those guys came back, and we didn't make the postseason. So talent is important, but it's still how many wins you can put in the win column is at the end of the day what really matters. So I guess the first thing I want to talk about is our pitching. I think if you read message boards, whether it be on IPS or any other on Twitter, there's a lot out there, guys, about our pitching staff, how we're handling our pitching staff, the talent of our pitching staff, the depth of our pitching staff, the fact that we're throwing so many different freshmen. Obviously, we've talked about it a lot. Dom Fritton, whether he would be better suited as a starter out of the bullpen. So let's talk about the pitching staff first, because if you look at it, you can make statistics say anything you want them to say. A lot of the times you can kind of manipulate them to the narrative you want, but at the end of the day, numbers are numbers. And tonight, I'm just going to share some just real hard numbers with you on our stats, on our pitching staff stats, and I'm going to let you guys chime in. But our pitching staff right now is 13 out of 14 teams in the ACC with a 6.77 ERA. That's not good. Interestingly enough, with that 6.77 ERA, we are 6th in the ACC in batting average against. Not 13 out of 14, but 6th. Teams are hitting 273 again. I'm sorry, we're not 6th. I had that sorted wrong. We're 10th. They're hitting 273 against us. And we have thrown 33 wild pitches, which I think if you watch the game on Sunday, bit us a couple times. And we are third in the ACC in walks with 146 walks. Those are the numbers that really stand out to me. So, but one of the things I did find interesting about the walks is that Wake Forest actually is second in the ACC in walks, and Virginia leads the ACC in walks. Two very good baseball teams, but the difference in their 159 and 148 walks to our 146 walks is their pitchers have struck out 300 and 370 guys, and we've struck out 246. So it's just baseball. The best way to pitch around walks, if you're going to walk them, you got to be able to strike guys out. Because when you put guys on for free and then you can't get them, if you can't strike them out, it's a stolen base and 2 ground balls to score a leadoff walk. That's it. That's all it is. Stolen base, two ground balls, you score a run, don't give up a hit. So what do you guys think about this pitching staff? And what direction would you like to see us go? We'll start with you, Adam.
Oh man, I guess I talked about Dom early on, in one of the early podcasts, about our thinking our success for this season, what success would look like would be Dom kind of living up to the preseason hype. I mean, honestly, you watch the guy pitch. If you weren't looking at his stat line, you're like, man, there's no way that guy has a 9.29 ERA through 8 starts, and but man, the truth of the matter is he's just not getting guys out. I mean, he's striking out a decent amount, but he's allowed as many runs as he has strikeouts.
And that ERA has ballooned to 11.29 in ACC play.
Yeah, and a bunch of wild pitches. I think you said we had 33. I think he has 10 of them. He's hit a bunch of guys. So I mean, I agree. I think we have said on here for multiple weeks now, we feel like the best move would be for Dom to the pen. Now, I totally get, obviously, this week with Sam and Witt not being able to go, that's obviously not going to be the case. Hopefully.
And even if that was the plan, we wouldn't have found out this weekend after that happened. I mean, that was out the window. Yeah.
No, it was. Yeah, exactly. So we don't know what was on the docket for this weekend, had they been available, but I still think that's the way we got to go. I don't. I hate it. Obviously, I think there's more value for him potentially. Obviously being a successful starter, but there's no value for him being a what'd you say 11.29 ERA through ACC play. I mean, that's not going to get him any looks. So or enough guaranteed looks. So.
And against Louisville this weekend, I don't know what stood out to me as much as the 5 walks and the hit batter in 3 innings. That's 6 free passes in 3 innings. He threw 97 pitches in 3 innings, guys. I mean, that's just not.
And he didn't strike anybody out.
Yeah, 0 strikeouts. 3 wild pitches, 5 walks, and a hit batter.
Yeah.
So, guys, there's no question. We're all ex-athletes, not near the level of athletes these guys are. When you're struggling, you're in your own head more than anyone else can possibly get in your head. But he's battling the demons a little bit right now. It seems like, and I think we got to do something different. So I'm gonna ask Wesley the next question. If we were to pull Dom out of rotation, so you got Marone as kind of like. Kind of the guy that makes sense to maybe go through to as a starter. I got another guy now that has really started to eat up some good innings for us in ACC play, Shane Van Dam. Wesley, do you think that's an option you think he's an option to start? He's got a 2.38 ERA in the ACC.
I think when you're 0-6 on the road, all options are on the table. And Van Dam, I've talked about it every episode. with our pitching, and when Alex has been on, we talked about, is our pitching as bad as we say it is? Is it average or what it is? But we need guys to step up, and I think one of the positives you took out of this weekend was Van Dam pitched really well when it was his turn. So I think all options are on the table, and for him making the transition from Division III to Division I, I don't know that coming into the season whether he's a middle relief, whether he's a closer, whether he's a starter, and based on how much better he's pitching than our other options, not named Highfield and Whitaker, why not? What do we have to lose? So I would say yes, Van Dam is a serious option to be a starter.
And opponents hitting 150 against him now. And I don't know that we got 3 starters that are legit starters available to us. I mean, I think we all trust Sam and Witt to be viable starters and give us a chance to win baseball games at this point. I mean, we've seen Logan Whitaker do it for so long, and obviously Highfield's looked really good this year, especially his last couple starts. But the games this weekend, we just got jumped on so early in every game that maybe if Van Dam ain't a 6-inning guy, my thought is that maybe he goes out and he gives you 4 good innings, and you kind of like maybe you get a lead, or you don't play from behind down 5-0 or 4-1 or whatever it may be. And I mean, you guys have been in dugout before. When you go out and you get punched in the teeth early in baseball, it can just take the wind out of you. And it feels like a lot of baseball games lately we play from behind. What do we got? 5 walk-off wins in 18 games.
Yeah, and I feel like Van Dam's an athlete, and we got a couple of guys on this pitching staff. When they run out, I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's who we're throwing out there. And I don't have that feeling with Van Dam. He's an athlete. So I have a lot of confidence in Van Dam right now.
So, Adam, between Marone and Van Dam, any other name you want to throw in? Who would be your pick to slide in?
I was just going to say one more comment to kind of follow up on you talking about, getting jumped on early. Besides that game Friday night where Louisville scored 5 in the 5th, that was the only game that they scored any runs past the 4th. That was the only runs they scored after the 4th inning. So, the bullpen really did a nice job of kind of holding their own once they got the ball. I mean, there was a bunch of runners on base at times, and a lot of traffic on the base pass, but really did a good job of not letting it get any worse. I mean, obviously gave up those 5 and ended up being run ruled in the Friday night game, but besides that, thought they really did a good job.
I think you're right there. My only concern is, for us from a standpoint, if we're just focusing on pitching.
Oh, we can talk hitting too, but just pitching right now.
If we're just focusing on pitching, if we look at some of our other, and us, we're all big fans of Dave Doran. Big fan of Dave, and the progress that our guys make from year to year, freshman, sophomore, junior, in the weight room. Some guys they may come in as unheralded recruits, and then they are serious playmakers by the time they leave Raleigh. And we do not have that with the pitching staff. That has not been the case for several years. I don't know the reason. I don't go to. I think the baseball weight room is in Weisiger Brown. I don't know what's happening there. I mean, I see some other programs around the state that guys come in as scrawny guys, and then as juniors they're throwing high 90s. I'm not seeing that. I don't. Maybe I'm being way too critical of how we're progressing or the development of pitching, but I personally do not see that with our pitching staff the last several years. I mean, when Highfield, so you say Highfield was really good as a freshman. So if the debate to me back is what about Highfield? He came in as pretty daggone good as a freshman. If you say with Whitaker, I mean Whitaker's been there for several years. I mean, maybe you can say Whitaker. Point out to me the pitcher that's better last year over this year, please.
No, I mean, I think at this point it's a fair discussion. I mean,
Yeah,
it is what it is. We're pack homers, and we trust Coach Avent, and we're members of the Army. But our pitching, our development of pitchers is totally worth discussing. It just is, and it can be the elephant in the room, whatever. We're going to talk about it. We've talked about how many freshmen we've thrown this year. Well, the reason we're throwing so many dang freshmen is obviously because the guys ahead of them, and we don't feel like they're good enough to be on the field. And then some of those guys, yeah, they're misses they're either misses in recruiting or we're not developing them. There's only two choices there. There's not a whole lot of gray area there when most of your bullpen innings are getting eaten up by freshmen. And transfers.
Louisville has been down the last couple of years, but it's still Louisville. You're going to Louisville, ACC play, and then I turn on the television or my phone in 2024, and Heath Andrews steps out at Louisville, one of the top programs over the last 15 years in the country. I was shocked. I mean, I get it that Highfield was sick, hurt, injured, whatever you want to say, but I can go back to when I was a freshman at NC State. Of course, I played football, but if you put me on the mound at 18 years old, that is a tough situation to be put in I'm assuming he's 18 years old, as an 18-year-old kid. I mean, did we lose? How much did we lose in the portal last year in pitching? I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Well, I think
do y'all know?
After I don't know. I'm just trying to think.
I do think it's probably worth saying too that Matt Willardson probably hit a lot of. He kind of covered up a lot of ill because guy was an inning eater. Like it didn't matter what dude was going to go out and throw six and a third every night. He might give up 5 runs, he might give up 1, but he's going to grind through 6 and a third. And we talked about how short that bullpen's been, and then this year we felt like, it's going to be a lot better. And we brought in Van Dam and Hollis Fanning, but. And even last year, we had another transfer that was a bullpen guy, Rio Britton. Our arms that we're bringing in, Wesley said, begs the question: where's the development?
How many innings did Hollis throw at Tennessee? We talk about his ERA, the strikeout to walk ratio, but how many innings did he actually throw last year?
He wasn't option one out of the bullpen there. That's for sure. I think he threw maybe 10 or 14 or somewhere in that ballpark, Wesley.
He's probably already thrown more for us. I think, we talked about it early on after like the VCU and Hawaii series and seeing all these young guys. And we kind of asked the question, why aren't we seeing the development of these junior, sophomore, junior, and senior guys potentially? And like you said, mentioned Cal, I think we've got our answer a little bit that, these young guys are obviously the better option, at this point. That's the reason why we hadn't seen them. And man, the little glimpses that we have too have not fared very well. So, wow.
Well, I think the concern there also is, I mean, if you think about, and again, I always sound the football guy, but you don't want to throw some of these guys out into the fire too early either. I mean, there's an issue with that as well. Whether it be a confidence standpoint or whatnot. And I think that's a concerning thing. And for me, I don't want to continue to talk about Campbell, and bring up the meat wagon again. But I can tell you, whenever we played, I was at and of course Kyle was too, the Columbia Regional. Those guys are big. I mean, yeah. I'm not sure, like from a strength and development training standpoint, I'm not saying that we're behind. I don't guess. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Like I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure if we need to. I don't know. I don't want to say that, but I'm just saying there are concerns when you're not getting a whole lot of. I'm trying to think about middle relief from a non-freshman transfer. If you guys can help me, please do. Who? Labriola?
Derek Smith actually did throw the ball good this weekend.
Yeah, Smith threw the ball well. Smith
had 4 strikeouts in 2 innings, but I mean he struggled. But you know, he's kind of a guy. I'm like, gosh, dude. I've said it a couple times. He's like 96, 97. Like, I maybe would like to run him out there over something. If we're going to just go out there and send guys out there and say, hell, figure it out. Why not run the guy out there that throws 98 and let him figure it out? You know, it's like in football, I guess. If you got a running back, you're like, well, we don't know which one to play. Well, let's stick the one in there that runs a 4.40 and let him figure out how to hit the hole. The other guys can't.
I just can't imagine that you know, last year we had these same problems where we had the limited arms that, you know, as we were going into, and I don't know when the transfer portal opens or closes in baseball. I'm sorry, I should know that, but I can't imagine we said we're going to fill that space with a true freshman. If we did that, that's a bold strategy. Maybe we did, but if we say we're going to fill that spot, you know, we have a need here and we're going to fill it with a true freshman, that is an extremely bold strategy in the ACC.
And I'll be the first one to say that if the light bulb comes on for all these guys down the stretch, we'll be singing the praises. So it ain't just, you know.
Well, no, I love the freshmen. I think the freshmen are extremely talented. I think we all. It's not the freshmen that we're concerned with.
But I did make the comment last week or 2 weeks ago that we've thrown 20 different arms, and that was like mind-numbing. Well, I don't think the 20 different arms right now, guys, speaks to the depth of our bullpen. It speaks to the issue that we can't figure out who can go out and get guys out because we just ain't got enough of those guys. And, 20 different arms. We're at a 7.68 ERA right now in the ACC. So the pitching staff, I guess the big thing we want to do is figure – we definitely want to move Dom to the bullpen. I think we've harped on that enough. And then, you know, whether it be Van Dam or Marone, we feel like we got to run somebody out there to mix it up. Now let's talk about the offense a little bit. Go ahead, Adam.
No, I was just gonna say if it does become Van Dam or even if it is Marone or the two of them, and you do have Dom as that option to potentially be a more extended relief guy if needed for Witt and Highfield, then I think you just have a lot more flexibility that way. I mean, now I don't know what has Dom averaged 4 innings per start.
He's at 8 starts, and how many innings has he thrown now? He's at 8 starts and 8 starts and a total of 31 innings. So a little less than 4 innings an outing.
Yeah, that's
so not to pile on the pitching staff anymore. I want to talk about the offense because you know as much as I've been a big fan of our lineup and our what we're guys that we got in the lineup, guys, we ain't that good offensively either right now. I don't know if y'all looked at those stats.
17 runs in an 0-4 week is not going to get it done.
Not going to get it done. And so I'm going to share some stats with y'all now. So we're hitting 290 as a team. Doesn't sound that bad. That's 10 out of 14 in the ACC. Like, oh, well, we got some guys in the lineup that can thump it a little bit. Well, we've hit 47 home runs, 10th out of 14 in the ACC. Well, a lot of times, guys, everybody don't hit a bunch of home runs, but, a lot of the guys, instead of hitting home runs in some ballparks turn into doubles. Doubles, dead last in the ACC. Dead last. So when you look at it from, we can talk about the pitching all we want to. We ain't swinging the bats good enough either. And honestly, I mean, if we're going to rake them through the columns at all, like we have our pitching staff, I'm going to read out the batting averages in ACC play because I don't really care about someone having 6 hits in the Townsend series and inflating their batting average. So here goes our core guys' batting average in ACC play. Pennington, now that guy was a hell of a portal addition. He's hitting 371 in ACC play with 8 home runs. Jacob Cozart hitting 309, no home runs in ACC play. Brandon Butterworth hitting 294. Josh Hogue 283. Amac 263. Luke Nixon 257. Noah Souls 250. Eli Serrano 214. And Chase Nixon is hitting 360. The only other guys with more than 15 at bats, Drew Lamphere is hitting 316. And Alex Sosa is hitting .087 in ACC play. So we're hitting 274 in ACC play. Not really getting a lot of juice. We've hit 22 home runs now in 15 ACC games for a lineup that I think we all felt like there's a lot of home run potential there. Well, out of those 22 home runs, Pennington and Amac have hit 13 of them. So I'll go first, I guess, on our offense. One of the things I think that we have got to do, one, we miss Noah Souls. He's hurt right now. Hopefully he's back soon. I think anybody who's watched knows that we are just so doggone left-handed. Like, we are about as left-handed a lineup as it gets. So we start, we're starting the game right now with Butterworth leading off, hitting right-handed. And then we're Pennington hitting second, hitting right-handed. Then we have Amac batting third, which is a switch hitter, so it doesn't really matter where he hits in the lineup. But if we are facing a left-hander, he's the only other right-handed bat we have in the lineup. And then we go 6 lefties in a row. Well, I kind of feel like you got to break that up somehow. No matter what, production-wise, what do we got to lose? We probably need to shake that up a little bit, because if I'm a pitcher and I get to throw to the one side of the plate for 6 batters in a row, I think it's awfully easy to get pretty comfortable. Also think that we're going to have to recruit some guys. And I know we've had some guys. We had Marcy last year that we lost to Memphis. Peoples was a switch hitter. Is that right? Didn't Peoples hit switch? Peoples was a switch hitter, so he was another right-handed bat that I'm sure we would have saw a lot more of in the lineup this year. But the 6 lefties in a row is something not working. Exactly. Something that we're going to have to switch up. And then, what do you guys make of the lack of home runs we've hit? I mean, what do you think has caused the power outage? I mean, a team that we feel like has got some guys in the lineup that can really barrel it up. What do you guys make of that?
I mean, where are we at? Where are we at on home runs as a team without Amac and Pennington?
Total as a team, in non-conference games included, we've hit 47 home runs. They've hit 21 of the 47. Cozart has hit 6, but he has not hit a home run in conference play. In 15 conference games, wow. Cozart has not hit a home run.
I mean, I don't know.
He's going to have to hit some home runs for us to win some games. I mean, he just is. Who else?
Eli's batting 262.
Yeah, 214 in ACC play.
I mean, what? Butterworth's 245 overall, like you said. I mean, what?
Yeah. He's one of the few guys that's hit it better in ACC. He's hitting 294 in ACC play, so that is a positive. But guys, if we're going to go up to the plate every night and hope that we can get a couple guys on and Pennington or Amac can knock it out of the park, that's a long year, buddy. We're going to do something a little different in our approach. We've stolen 6 bases in ACC play.
Yeah, I think, and that's the hard thing is you mentioned earlier in the podcast, when you watch ECU and Louisville play, and they're so aggressive offensively. When a guy gets on first base, they're looking for second base immediately. And Adam, Cal, you sent a picture from the game against ECU where the first baseman wasn't holding our guy on. He was essentially all the way to second base, and that's just not our strategy. That's not, and maybe that worked a few years ago when we were hitting home runs at a much higher rate. But this year is obviously, if you look at the statistics, that's not our team.
And we are 12th in the ACC in stolen bases. Play that Louisville team. So we've stolen 17 bases all year long.
Who's worse? Who's worse than us?
Yeah, how's that?
Miami and Pitt.
Wow.
But we've stolen 17 bases in 29 games. Louisville, the team we played this weekend, has stolen 70 bases. You go look at Boston College, a team who, you kind of feel like, yeah, they hit some home runs, but they're maybe not as talented offensively as some of the teams in our league. Boston College has stolen 64 bases. So I'm not, Coach Avent's been doing it a long time. And obviously he has a style of baseball that he wants to play. We've never been a team really that, pushes guys over. We don't sack much. As a matter of fact, we're dead last in the ACC in sacrifice hits or bunts. We've sacked a runner over 3 times in 29 games.
That's not surprising.
Yeah,
Boston College has moved over 26 guys and stolen 64 bases. So, I mean, my thing is, if you're not going to damn drive them in, and because we're struggling a little bit with that, we're going to have to find some creative ways to get them to second and third. And
yeah, exactly. At some point, you have to recognize the personnel. I mean, you say we're at 47 home runs.
Yep.
Is that correct? And UNCW is at 49 home runs. I mean, there's sometimes you have to recognize the personnel and adjust. So I guess that'll be interesting as we're at basically the midpoint of the season, how we start doing that, because we just don't see that power. I mean, if you look down, so I mean, if we're looking at guys who aren't seeing the field, they could give us some power from the right hand side. I mean, you look at Jake Bechtel. I mean, he's a big dude. I think he's like 6'4", 230. I mean, do we start looking there? I mean, as Sosa, who we know is a great prospect, but he's batting, what you say, 82.082. Do we start giving some of these other guys some burn to see what they can do? I mean, when's the last time we saw Bechtel?
Hawaii,
I think Bechtel might have had some appearances in ACC play, but even in ACC play, he has. Looking here now, he's got 6 at bats in 5 games, 3 starts.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah, 6 at bats in ACC play. So, I think there's something that, in ACC play, we've only stolen 6 bases, and we've sacked a runner over 1 time. So, I think that I don't know, we got to find a spark somehow. And I'm not saying that I want us to bunt 5 times a night or take off running every time we get on first base. Hell, if you can't run, you can't run. I know a lot of guys that we've recruited probably aren't. The reason we don't take off and run 70 times, I mean, it ain't like Coach Avent's allergic to stealing. Trey Turner stole, 50-some bags as a freshman? So it ain't like we don't have a steal sign. But we're going to have to get a little bit more creative. One of the things that drives me crazy, and pitchers, I think that college pitchers in general, that throwing strikes are not at the premium that they were 20 years ago or 10 years ago. Like, guys value throwing 97 and striking guys out more than they do locating. And so where I'm going with this is, if you go sit in a college ballpark right now, every single person in America is doing all these crazy shifts and, got the whole left side of the infield playing to the right at second base. Like, get a bunt down. Like, you're a Division I athlete. If they give you the whole left side, just bunt it to third base. It ain't, I know they're like, well, the reason we can shift, and then we throw them in, and then we get a ground ball to the right side. These guys ain't that good. I mean, when you're walking 150 guys, I don't trust them to throw it on the inner half every time. So when they throw it away from you, slap it the other way and find a way to help us win some dang baseball games, because, sitting here and beating our head against the wall hoping that we get a bloop and a blast ain't working.
It ain't working. Not with this. Not with the lineup we have now.
No. You brought up the point earlier, Cal, about I will say, we're talking about Peoples being a switch hitter. I don't know if you've checked his stats so far.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, what he batted he batted 352 for us with 12 home runs, and at Tennessee so far this year, he is hitting 237 with 0 home runs. They got 87 as a team, but he has 0. So
if that's what we were going to get from him, and I'm sure, I'd have liked to have him on this team, but if that's what we were going to get from him, better use of our NIL funds. That gives me a chance right now to tell you, give some money to One Pack NIL.
One Pack NIL. Yeah, I got the shirt.
Got the shirt on. We're going to need some dudes next year.
One thing, maybe Cozart broke their spirit from wanting to steal in fall ball. My God, we've had 23 steals against us in 37 attempts. So I know at 2 of those 23 were on a double steal. During
but I mean,
game, so.
I agree. But I mean, and Cal, you're the baseball coach. But how much of that can be contributed to these freshman pitchers?
Oh,
how many good jumps are they getting based on you throwing an 18-year-old out there against us?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that number in college baseball that he's throwing out, I think Adam's saying that's pretty dang sporty to throw out that percentage of base runners, and like you said, doing it with a pitching staff that is not seasoned vets and holding runners in high leverage situations. So,
and a right-handed first baseman too. I mean, it's.
Another thing too about the running game, guys, is when guys are up there trying to throw 97, they ain't using the old slide step that that we might have got taught in little league in high school. When you're reaching back and trying to blow the radar gun up, your ability to hold runners sometimes ain't as good. So I'd like to see us be a little bit more aggressive on the base pass. I'd like to see us. When guys want to put those stupid shifts on us instead of trying to hit it. How many balls have you guys seen smoke to the right side into a shift this year? I've seen a bunch.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, terrible. Or like the second baseman with our lefty batters, our shortstop getting us out on the right-hand side of second base,
Got another number for you now since we're talking offense, and I say that we need to play a little small ball. There's only one team in the entire ACC through 29 to 32 ball games. There's only one team in the entire ACC that's not struck out 200 times this year. That's your Wolfpack. Not only have they not struck out 200 times, they hadn't struck out 180 times. We've struck out 179 times. Boston College leads the league with 289 strikeouts. Duke, who is hitting 319 as a team, has struck out 280 times. Virginia, who is hitting 342 as a team to lead the ACC, has struck out 220 times. So we're putting the ball in play. And, I think I say they go, well, we've had a lot of bad luck. Well, we have had some bad luck. I mean, there's been, I told somebody, I haven't seen Garrett Pennington hardly put a ball in play all year that was not hit hard. Like he hits it hard every single time he hits it. I mean, he hit one other night against ECU that they had to shift on up the middle. And I swear to y'all, he hit a ground ball. I don't think he hit the ground into the outfield grass and never got 6 inches off the ground. I'm like, how do you hit a ball that hard? It looked like me when I was coaching with my fungo and I was pissed off at practice. And I'm like, I'm going to try to hit one through his shins because I'm upset right now. That's how he looked like that's how he looks like when he grounds out. He just melts everything. So, we've had some bad luck hitting some balls right at people, but if you're not hitting home runs, and we're not, you can't try to hit it through the shift all the time either. I mean, you got to take what they give you. In the big leagues, they don't. Well, they ban the shift in the big leagues, now it's a very modified shift. But even in the big leagues, those guys try to hit it through the shift, but the guys that are trying to hit it through the shifts in the big leagues are the same guys that are hitting 30, 40, 50 home runs a year. It's a little bit different. So I don't know. I just think offensively we're going to get a little bit more creative running the bases, hit and run. If we're not going to strike out, because we're obviously very good at not striking out. Well, teams that don't strike out are usually very good hit and run teams, because the worst enemy of a hit and run is a swing and miss. So hell, if we know we can put it in play, well, maybe let's try to hit and run a little bit. I don't know. I'm searching here, guys. I'm searching. just we just got to do something different. Obviously, on offensively and as a pitching staff, we have to do something different. So let's talk about this week's series. Play UNCW tomorrow night. UNCW has been one of the best mid majors in the country now for, I don't know, 30 years. You go back to Coach Scaff, who was there for a very long time, and then now you have Coach Randy Hood there, coaching Eastern North Carolina. I got to know both those guys, both excellent baseball coaches. Obviously, have had to do it without an ACC budget, and tend to make regionals year after year after year and be very competitive in their conference. Wesley's going to be at the ballpark tomorrow night. Wesley, give us a little rundown of the Seahawks this year. Always, like I said, competitive mid-major for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you say without an ACC budget, and when I go to a game in Wilmington seems kind of nicer than Doak Field. So that's a major problem.
It seems nicer because it is.
Yeah, it seems nicer because it is. So I'll go tomorrow night. I live here in Wilmington, so I'll check it out. And UNCW, as Cal said, they're an extremely good baseball program, like so many other teams in North Carolina. Just a couple weeks ago, they beat Coastal in Wilmington during the midweek. They got a guy named Tanner Thatch who is just an unbelievable athlete. Plays first base. Left-handed, 6'4", 230 pounds. Plays first base. He can pitch. He's hit 16 home runs this year. He's batting over 325. So they got a guy who's really good. And then fun trivia fact, Cal and I were talking before the podcast. Tanner is actually Jim Catfish Hunter's nephew. So,
so that's cool. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so he's got the specimen, he's got the blood. He's an incredible player. I mean, and we talk about this week in and week out. I guess y'all said 9 or 10 podcasts. I don't know what y'all said. It doesn't get any easier. So it's not like our guys are rolling into a game where they can just figure it out. They're rolling to a game where these guys are going for our jugular. They want to win the game. They don't want to win the game. They're gonna be like ECU. They're gonna come out and try to be the aggressor as soon as the first pitch goes. So you can't come out flat-footed here in Wilmington tomorrow night if you're our guys. And then if you think about it, you got these guys who are a really good baseball team, and then you're going to go for 3 games in Clemson, South Carolina, against the number 2 team in the country. It doesn't get any easier. So where we figure it out, I don't know. But Wilmington's not going to be an easy game tomorrow. I can promise you that.
It's going to be a packed house. The weather's going to be perfect. Everybody that went to class and then went and laid out at the beach for an hour or two is going to show back up at the ballpark, and they're going to be rowdy. They're going to be drinking beer in left field, and it's a baseball game that's very important to them to win. Just like ECU this past week. Two programs that are really good, and they spent. UNCW is not ranked right now, but they spent some time in some top 25 polls over the years.
Yeah,
they're going to.
I can promise you, as all 3 of us know, they are not intimidated by us coming into Wilmington, North Carolina. And, just another interesting fact, when Cal was talking about our team ERA at 6.77, UNCW's team ERA is at 4.89. So they got some guys that can throw the ball across the plate and can pitch. So it'll be interesting to see. And you're going to see a similar scenario as ECU last week. They're going to play that game to win the game. I'm assuming we're going to play that game to win the game. But I know that UNCW is going to come out there to win the game.
It's going to be a good matchup.
Yeah, I was just going to say, speaking of it, Wesley made the point about it doesn't get any easier from here. We follow up UNCW this week, and then next week, the midweek, we have the Camels from Bowie's Creek. Then the next week we got the Pirates again, and then we have UNCW again the following week. And in between that, obviously, this weekend we have the number 1 overall RPI team in the Clemson Tigers, followed by the Tar Heels, who are the number 4 RPI team. And then the following weekend, we have the Seminoles, who are the number 3 RPI team. And then the following week, we go to Charlottesville and play the number 13 RPI team in the Cavaliers, followed by the preseason number 1 Demon Deacons, who are still currently the number 14 in the RPI. So, my gosh, I mean,
Yeah.
I was feeling pretty
They're
good when we were looking at
8-4 and feeling like we had a good chance to win the series at Louisville.
Hey,
man.
if there's 2 series you don't want to lose, it's Georgia Tech get swept in Georgia Tech and Louisville.
Yeah.
But the positives and the negatives for these series is, if you're a religious person, pray that pray that Whitaker and Highfield are okay, and look at all the series that we have an opportunity to win. There's not a whole lot of teams in the country that have these opportunities that we do over the next several weeks, and that is a really big positive that we have a chance to go out and win some of these top 12 series, and we've already got a top 10 series with Duke. So I mean, in terms of building a resume, it's right there in front of you. We just got to figure it out. And and like we've talked about from the podcast, it's not just the pitching; it's the offense too. So we got to figure it out offensively and defensively.
And if you look at being, go ahead, Adam.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you look at being 8-7 in the ACC, and if you got to win 6 more games, but if you can win just 2 out of these last 5 series, being as good of programs as they are, you're probably still in. But you got to find a way to win them. And it'd be nice to go ahead and get the monkey off her back this week. If you win the series at Clemson, I mean, next week's show is a whole lot different mood if somehow you go down there to 28-3 Clemson and find a way to get 2. And we're capable. I mean, the Louisville series this week, we lost 7-6, 7-6. Ball bounces a different way twice. You come out of there winning 2 out of 3. We're probably not quite as somber tonight, although we still do know that we got some issues that we got to address. But the whole thing's still in front of us.
It really
is any
hurts
team
not being at least
is
10
any
and 5 right now?
Really hurts not being 10-5. Yes.
Wonder if we had a stats guru, if any teams ever started out the season 0-9 in ACC play on the road. Maybe not. That would be hard to do.
You talking about and made the postseason or just period?
Just period. 0-9 in ACC play to start the season would be hard to do.
I'm sure someone has, but I don't think it happens a lot. And making the postseason is probably even a better question, Adam.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
All right, I'll give you a quick rundown on Clemson before we get out of here. So Clemson has hit 57 home runs, hitting 292 as a team, 28-3 overall. That sounds really good offensively, but where they're just so dang good. They have a 3.91 team ERA, and they have struck out 305 batters, 276 innings, only giving up 121 walks. So yeah, they hit it, but they flat out pitch it too, and they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys that they've thrown more than 20 innings this year, and opponents right now are hitting 231 against the Clemson Tigers. So it's going to be a big time environment, big time challenge. I don't even want to go through all these different names. I think I've done that too many weeks in a row. Blake Wright is a household name if you're an ACC baseball fan. Guys hit 13 home runs for him, hitting 316, driven in 44. What did Blake Wright do a couple weeks ago, Adam? Hit 2 grand slams in the game. Is that right?
Is that right? In the Florida State, it was back-to-back days. He hit either the tying or the go-ahead. Tying, I think one day grand slam, and then the next day it was a go-ahead when they were down to Florida State. But and to that point, I was going to say this past weekend, Notre Dame, they played at Notre Dame. It was cold, but Notre Dame played them pretty close. They had Clemson won 2 one-run games up there.
And I do know that the message being preached in that Clemson clubhouse too is that it can go south just as quick as it went north, because wasn't it Clemson last year who really struggled in the first half of the year, and then they just got red hot down the stretch.
They swept us last year, right? In
Kind
Raleigh.
of got them going, right? That was kind of the turning point of the year for them, was when they came to Raleigh and swept us. So I think that they know it's a big series, even though they're sitting at 10-2 in league play and 28-3 overall. They're still trying to keep collecting series victories, because their goal right now, where we're looking at making sure that we can firm up an at-large bid. Those guys right now are looking at being a national host, and they know that every single win is going to count. So before we go, I just do want to say we've been pretty dang negative in the first half of this podcast, or the majority of this podcast, since we're about over. But I do think, and I think we all feel that we can turn it around. I mean, I don't think that we're just dead in the water. Like I think Wesley mentioned a minute ago, we beat Duke in a series already this year, who is a really good ball club. We're still 8-7 in the ACC. We're above 500, so not all is lost. But we got 15 really tough ACC games coming up, and we definitely got some kinks to iron out. Wesley, Adam, anything to add?
No, still positive.
No. Yeah, I think similar to our basketball team, picked a pretty bad day to not shoot the ball well Saturday. Unfortunately, I also think we picked a pretty bad week this past week for our bats to kind of go cold on us. So, especially when we had 2 starters out. So hopefully we can get it corrected. I agree. I mean, I still think the team is fully capable. Obviously, we need some pieces to get healthy. Really miss Souls. I think he's one of those guys, Cal, you were talking about. He hadn't been hitting for a high average, but he was really putting the ball in play well. Didn't strike out many times. him and the Nixon boys, between the 3 of them, they're just a fierce out. So I think we need to get that piece back. Hopefully, either Witt or Sam, or hopefully both of them can go this week, and maybe a little added rest will be good for them too.
Yeah, I mean, you look at those Nixon boys, and you can just tell that they're big leaguer sons. I mean,
they are freaking tough outs.
Chase has struck out 4 times in 43 at bats, and Luke has struck out 8 times in 59 at bats. Everybody else,
he's bad.
He just grinds. How many times has Luke been hit? I got that stat? Yeah, Luke's been hit 5 times, walked another 14 times. He's got a 462 on base percentage. Just does not go up there and just lay the sword down. Like, you're going to have to fight. And I mean, he's definitely been a bright spot for us offensively. I didn't even realize he's actually second on the team in on base percentage behind Cozart. He's at 462. Cozart's at 465 with 27 walks. But
yeah, I was gonna say Cozart's walked a bunch. I know.
So, no, guys. Final question. We're gonna get off here, but we got 4 games this week. UNCW 3 at Clemson. How do you feel? How many? Irrespective of how the games look, watching, how many wins do we need to get this week for you guys to feel good going into the last 4 series we'll have? I really think. Go ahead, Adam.
For me to feel good, I'd say we have to have at least 2 this week.
Wesley? All right, go ahead, Adam.
No, I was just saying, anything less than that, I'm gonna, still be even more disappointed.
Wesley?
I mean, I agree, 2 minimum.
Yeah, I think 2's the number.
If we have another 0-4 week, I just don't know, man. I just don't know.
Yeah, I think we got to win 2.
If we have another 0-4 week, we're going to get the daggone little sand timer out, like hourglass, and put it up in the corner of this pod and
It's a
cut it
tough
to 10
week.
minutes.
That's a tough week at Wilmington and then at Clemson. That's a tough week.
If you get two, you're 9-9. If you get one against UNCW and one against Clemson, I mean, obviously, I think we'd take one on the chin tomorrow night against Wilmington if we got 2 out of 3 against Clemson next weekend. But if you get one against Wilmington and one against Clemson, you're 9-9 in the ACC. You still got it all in front of you. But it feels like it's going to really be an uphill climb if you don't get an ACC win this coming up week.
And we're still assuming that Highfield and Whitaker are okay.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah.
So, all right. Got a big week ahead of us. They're all big at this point in the year. We look forward to seeing you next week. Give us a follow on the X and the Instagram. We appreciate you.